I would love to just get knocked up. Just like have the decision made for me. That would be a dream. Because I feel like I just put so much pressure on this decision and like how I envision my future and where my emotions at and am I ready? And like everybody always says you're never ready. So yeah, hopefully I just have a positive pregnancy test and can go from there. Am I a psychopath?
Clearly. Yeah. Baylee, take one.
How should I introduce myself? Hi, my name's Baylee and I work in film production. I'm 32 years old. I was gonna say 30. Always in my head, I'm like, think I'm younger than I am. For a while it was 24, so that's good that I thought I was 30. I've been with my husband for almost 11 years and we're trying to decide if we're gonna have kids or not. We're at a really interesting time in history where having kids is more of a choice than it ever was before. Before it was very culturally embedded where you get married and then you start a family. And now people are really thinking about, do kids fit into my life? Do kids fit into my future? In my own life, I've been experiencing this like extreme indecision of whether or not to have kids. And so I started thinking like, I want to hear from more perspectives. I want to hear from experts, what they're saying. I want to hear from people what it's like that live a child-free life, because I don't have a lot of those like role models in my life, so I didn't even know what that looks like. So I wanted to explore that topic because as I bring it up with my friends, so many of us are confused and have no idea what to do. And so that's what sparked Maybe Baby. So I just wanted to gather as many perspectives as I can with this project, and hopefully it'll help me make my decision.
How would you describe your current stance on having kids?
My current stance on having kids changes weekly, daily, hourly. It like really depends on who I'm talking to about it. Like today we did a bunch of interviews with parents or people that are all wanting to have kids. And like after listening to all those interviews, I'm like, oh yeah, I want to have kids. But then last week I was traveling and, seeing new places, experiencing new things, and was like, I want to keep doing this for the rest of my life. At that moment, I'm not seeing a future with kids. So my stance is so dependent on who I'm surrounded by, what I'm doing, what my focus is at that moment, which is why this decision is really stressful.
And you said your perspective has changed over time. How often has it changed? Like, what is there? Comes and goes.
I was like growing up, I was always a no. I didn't think I wanted kids, or I just couldn't imagine my future with kids. And I think as I'm getting older, I'm starting to experience new phases of life. And so now my perspective is starting to shift of, with this next phase of life, is this a new challenge that I'm going to want to take on? So I think like this thought occupies my brain all the time.
Can you go into what your current relationship status is and how does this affect your decision?
Yeah, I've been married to my husband, Jesse, for 4 years. He's my best friend. We started our relationship not wanting kids. And then as we got older, everyone always told me as soon as you turn 30 that a switch is going to flip, as far as like your motherly instincts kicking in. And I was like, I don't think I'll ever want kids. And I turned 30 and was all of a sudden like, oh, wait a second, maybe I do. But he's always stayed the same. He does not want kids. And so that has been a really challenging thing to navigate. Not so much with each other, because I feel like we've had really good communication about it, but it's just a very real topic that we're exploring. He feels like even though he doesn't want kids, that he will adapt and he'll make it work. And I believe that too. I think he would be an incredible father. But he actually, even though I'm the one that is kind of pushing to have kids when we are having this conversation, he thinks that I'm going to have a really hard time adapting to motherhood, which I think is very true. So he kind of wants to see from me, like starting to move into more of that lifestyle, like maybe not traveling as much, maybe like taking on more of the taking on more responsibilities in the home. Financially, we could have kids. I have the support of my family. Like, who knows right now if we can naturally get pregnant, but like right now we're healthy. So the biggest factor is how it's going to affect my relationship with my husband because he doesn't want kids. And so like kind of forcing him into that decision, I feel like I'm already going into it feeling fear of resentment, him resenting me. It's a big decision to go into with that already, that fear of resentment. Also, if it's a lifestyle that I want, I think that because he doesn't want kids and because I started to want kids, that a lot of my focus went into like trying to change his perspective. But then I realized recently, like, okay, but let's think about my perspective again. Is this a lifestyle that I want? And sometimes I don't know. My husband and I have a dog, Marty, who is the love of our life. And like sometimes I think about how he brings so much joy into our lives. Like every minute we're around him, like he just brings so much happiness and joy. And so I've been trying to ask myself, like, do I need more of that? Because a child, I think, will bring, that kind of happiness and joy times 10, but also levels of stress times 10 than what our dog gives us. I think my husband and I also have we've seen, like, it's been very evident with our dog how different our parenting styles are. And that, like, I think that they are a perfect balance, but it also creates a lot of conflict between us. Like, I never think anything will go wrong. And because of that, it's kind of a bad mix. Like, he almost overcompensates and thinks that is aware of like everything that could go wrong. And because he does that, then I overcompensate even more and think nothing will go wrong. So again, like, in the end, it's a great balance, but it definitely creates some conflict. Someone actually in a bar once, someone described to me, before parenthood, you rate moments in your life on a 0 to 10 scale. Once you are a parent, that scale goes from -10 to 20. And so it's like, am I willing to experience that new -10 if it means experiencing a whole new level of happiness and joy and love that I wouldn't know had I not been a parent? Because I do think that like that kind of happiness and joy and love that you experience, I don't think that can come from not being a parent. I think that you can experience that level of 10 through traveling and through new experiences and lower stress levels, hopefully. So like, do I want to widen that range? And when I ask myself that now, I think, yeah, I think I'm always looking for new ways to grow and to challenge myself. Oh, I don't know. Maybe that answers the question. I mean, right now I'm really focused on like regret. Would I regret not having kids? Like imagining myself in my 50s, 60s, 70s, beyond, and would I regret not having built a family? But then also the flip side, would I be, let's say, in my 40s and regret not having the flexibility and the freedom that I really value in my life? I think people don't talk very often, people with kids don't talk very often about regret. But I think it's out there. I think it's just not super culturally accepted to talk about. So that's what I'm considering.
Have you had any major turning points that have pushed you towards or away from the idea of parenthood?
Because my husband didn't want kids, I was really trying to persuade him and pushing that. And then when he told me that, he was willing to sacrifice for me if it was something that I really wanted, then I thought, okay, well, if he's doing that, then I also need to think about, would I be willing to sacrifice for him because he doesn't want kids? So then I started to view my life without kids, and that kind of opened up a whole new vision of the future. And so that really shifted my perspective when I transitioned from being like the pusher and the persuader to then really ask myself, well, what do I want? I'm so indecisive, so this is like hard.
What does society and culture say?
It's weird because, like, society and culture say, like, make me feel like I should be a parent, but then also, like, the workplace makes me feel like I shouldn't be a parent or can't be a parent and do what I do in, like, the manner that I'm doing it now as far as traveling and career growth and all of that. So, yeah, it's kind of an interesting dynamic. I'm always like just reflecting on this decision and trying to think of it in different perspectives. And so right now it's like it is the norm for the most part to have kids. And so I was trying to ask myself, what if the norm was to not have kids? Like, what if having kids was looked at the same way today that people look at couples that don't have kids, where it's like, oh, that's unique. That's an interesting lifestyle choice that's a little bit different. So, if that were the scenario, how would I feel? Like, would I want to pursue having kids, the unconventional path, or pursue not having kids? I don't have an answer because I'm so indecisive, but it's something I'm thinking about.
How do you think your lifestyle would change if you had kids?
I really value flexibility and freedom in all aspects of my life. Like right now, I have a job that offers me a ton of flexibility and freedom, and I love it. Like I don't think I could go back. And I like every day is different for me. That's how I like to live my life. Is like my morning routine is different every day. I'm taking my dog to a different trail every day as much as I can. I just love, I can't be doing the same thing every single day. It'll drive me crazy. And so I think with kids, there is a little bit of that monotonous routine, but then on the other hand, they grow so fast. So maybe it would feel different. I don't really know, but
Do you feel like becoming a parent would change your identity?
I love to work. I get a lot of my self-worth from work and I'm aware of that. Um, so I think it's going to be like a huge identity crisis to be a mom first and a filmmaker second. I love having freedom. Like right now, my life gives me freedom. My husband, like, he knows as soon as we started dating that like I couldn't be tied down. So like he gives me freedom to like travel around and do whatever. And like, yeah, I feel like so much of my identity is wrapped up in work, my work as a filmmaker, and just like my ability to live a very free life. Um, and so I feel like all of those things would take a back seat if I became a mother. So it would be a total identity shift. I guess like so many parents I see, like all they talk about is their kids. Like that is their whole life. And like that doesn't seem appealing to me. But I think it's hard to judge that when you're not in that scenario. Because I will say, like, my dog is everything to me. And if I could, I would talk about my dog all the time, but I don't because I know it's annoying. So, yeah, I do. I do talk about him a lot. Like, I live a like a pretty selfish life.
Do you think it's selfish to not have kids?
I mean, selfish? I don't know. Because I feel like if I choose not to have kids, it kind of is for selfish reason. Well, it's because I want my freedom and I want my flexibility and I don't want to dedicate my life being a caregiver. So I don't, I guess someone could definitely view that as being selfish, but I also think that like it's everyone's individual decision to make. So like, I think labeling it as selfish is like judging someone, which is like totally unnecessary in this scenario. Like, sure, it could be viewed selfish because you're prioritizing your life over bringing a new life into this world. But because selfish is like a judging term. And I don't think like any judgment needs to be cast on anyone for any decision.
One thing about your current life that you'd want to hold on to, even if you did become a parent?
I think I definitely approach life with like a very, I think that this is good and bad, but I approach life with like a nothing bad will ever happen, worry-free kind of perspective. And when stuff does go wrong, I think because of that mindset, I'm able to adapt quickly. Um, so I would want to, in some ways, like I don't want that to change about myself. Um, but then, with kids, there are so many worries and so many things that can go wrong. So that is a fear that I don't know if I.
Do you have any other fears or concerns when you think about becoming a parent?
I think like changes in my body is scary. Um, I think like I identify as someone that is young. And like just like growing older is something that I'm having a hard time with, which is probably contributing to this indecision. Is like I still look at myself as like not old enough to be a mom. So like yeah, that's probably contributing to all of this. Other factors. I think just regret, like worrying. I think it would be really scary to have a child that like I'm sure obviously like I would love. Um, but to like once you have that kid, you are locked in for I don't know, at least 18 years, really more than that. So like having a child and then realizing like, oh, maybe this wasn't the decision for me is a really scary feeling.
What are you worried that you will miss out on if you choose to have kids?
I worry that I'm gonna lose the relationship that I have now with my husband, or maybe not lose, but just that it's gonna change significantly, which it will. So that is definitely a fear of mine, a worry. Um, I worry that, I'm not going to be able to. Right now, I travel a ton for my job, and I'm not going to be able to do that. I think also because my husband doesn't want kids, like, but he's willing to sacrifice for me if that's something that I really want. But also knowing that, like, it would be more of a traditional kind of parenting style where I would take on the majority of the childcare, just because, like, I can't expect him to not want kids and then also like have a hybrid parenting style. Like that's just not really fair to ask of him. So like I need to make a lot of the sacrifices, and I don't know if I really want to do that yet with my career. Yeah.
Last year, you were very confident you were going to have kids. Can you put yourself in your previous Bailey's mindset?
The times when I do feel like I want kids, I think I'm really sensing this new pace of life and a new chapter. Um, like I used to really struggle with like kind of being a workaholic, and I have been working on addressing that and getting so much better over the last like 2 years or so. And so that allowed me to see a whole new phase of life where work isn't the main focus. And that really started opening up my eyes to that phase of life, including being a parent. So when I feel that pull of like, okay, life is changing, like I'm starting to become a little bit more of a homebody. I don't need to always go out with my friends. I don't need to always be traveling. Then I can really see a child fitting into that. I don't know. It's interesting because I don't view myself like being a parent. Like I don't see myself with a little one and like taking care of them, which I just realized. Um, I mean, when I hear other people talk about the love between their kids, I'm like, that sounds beautiful, and like I'm like, oh, that like I would love to experience that. Um, I think like Christmas, like sometimes I think about as an adult how I'm sad that I don't have the same excitement for Christmas that I did when I was little. And I think having kids, you kind of get to live vicariously through them and experience those things with that perspective. Um, I love pickleball, so I want to play pickleball with my kid. I don't know. I don't know. It's kind of weird that I can't think of what excites me about having kids. Just having like, I think seeing my husband as a dad, because even though he says he doesn't want kids, he'd be the best dad. So that is exciting to me. Just having him do like having the kids like say and do cute little things. I don't know. My husband is just naturally a mentor and a coach and is just very, very wise and very, just looks at the world in a very realistic and healthy and just like a very clear-minded kind of way. And so, whereas I like really feed into my emotions and I can be swayed any which way at any moment. And so like I think just having like seeing him is so like grounded with a child and like mentoring them through life is exciting. So yeah, when I'm in that space, I see that future. But then at other times when I'm in the space of just really enjoying freedom and traveling and doing new and exciting things, then I see the future of without kids. So it's always so dependent on like what is happening in my life at that time.
How do you imagine your life in 20 years if you do decide to have kids?
I mean, because I'm so close with my family, my mom is my best friend, my dad is my husband's best friend. If we have kids, like I want them to be our best friends. But also they could not be. They could not like us. They could be very different from us. So that's hard to imagine. But with kids in 20 years, I mean, I imagine we'll probably still be in the same house, sending them off to college. I don't know. I think I'm realizing that I need to work on like how I envision my life with kids because I'm not really like seeing it yet. If we choose not to have kids in 20 years, I imagine, let's see, I'll be 52. So I imagine I've always said I want to live in an RV. So I want to live in an RV, travel around, and play pickleball everywhere and anywhere that I can with Jesse, with my husband. And continuing to work, continuing to be a filmmaker and work on creative projects. Still being really close with my family. But yeah, doing a lot of traveling, a lot of relaxing in the sun.
Is there a particular family dynamic or childhood experience that shapes how you feel about parenthood?
Well, first off, let's start with my mom. My mom is like, she's my best friend. She is like objectively the best mom. Like she's amazing. I love she's like, the best. And I don't see myself being like her. Like I don't see myself. She always knew she wanted to be a mom. I've taken on more of my dad's traits of being very work focused and not so much of a nurturer or a caregiver in the traditional sense. My dad is, I don't think he'll say this, but he's like definitely a workaholic, like for sure workaholic. And I have really struggled with that as well. I think I'm getting a lot better. And like learning how to manage my stress, but it used to be a problem. My dad just worked really, really hard and has provided so much for us and sacrificed a lot for us. And my husband is definitely more of a nurturer and a caregiver. But with him not wanting kids, like that's where things get tricky. Like that is kind of a weird combo of me being like kind of selfish, obsessed with work, but then I'm also supposed to be the main caregiver. Like it doesn't the math is not mathing there, which makes me work like feels like I need to make a change if we're pursuing this.
Do you feel any pressure from your family to decide one way or the other about having kids?
No, my family is really good about not applying pressure. I think it's just like society and culture that I feel pressure from.
And then do you think there's a right or wrong reason to have children?
I think when people say they want to have kids to save a marriage, that like seems crazy to me because it seems like having kids like can really break a lot of marriages because it completely shifts the dynamic from my perspective. So that seems like a wrong reason. I mean, I did hear in a podcast though that like it's not good to go into parenthood assuming like your child will be your best friend, your child will take care of you when you're older, because like you could not get along with your child. You could, there's so many elderly people that are in nursing homes that have families that like never come and visit them. So I'm trying not to go into it like with that perspective. I feel like this interview has made me realize that I don't like that I don't have strong feelings or like a strong vision of parenthood, which like kind of makes me sad because I want to really want kids because I don't want to miss out on like that capacity to love. But I'm like not feeling those emotions. So I don't know why that is or what that means, but so yeah, I don't know. I think I'm questioned out. Do you have any other final thoughts?
All right. Should I have?
Cece should have a baby. She's so wise. She'll teach that baby everything.